Welcome, business leaders, and thank you for spending the next hour with us for another online event discussing mental health. For nearly 2 years, the business community has been rallying around the cause of mental health, relying on the guidance of experts and the insights of passionate leaders to strengthen the resilience and mental fitness of Utah's workforce. The Suicide Prevention in the Workforce Employer Toolkit has been a valuable tool for businesses to make a difference. Now we're pleased to announce a new, custom-tailored resource, Resilience in Hospitality, a guide to employee mental fitness for the hospitality industry. This new guide and today's event are part of Workforce Resilience Through Mental Fitness, an initiative of Utah Community Builders, the Salt Lake Chamber's Social Impact Foundation. I'm pleased to introduce our moderator, Melva Sine, President and CEO of the Utah Restaurant Association.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate the opportunity to be here so that we can have a discussion on this, how we solve and how we address this challenging issue that faces the hospitality industry. I have with me today Kelly Lake, who is with Lux Events, and I also have Brandon Hansen, who is with the Hyatt here in Salt Lake City. And we're just going to have a conversation about some of the issues that are rising in the industry. They've been here for years, but now is time that we're really needing to focus as we start to rebuild our workforce in the hospitality industry. And the guide that Nick has referenced is amazing. I was able to receive that, and I've been through it, and I see many, many resources that are so vital and valuable for everyone to have. Getting this information digitally, you can break out, put information in your break rooms, put information wherever you need to, where you has access to all of your employees, so that we can work to strengthen and build community with these employees who mostly we consider our family. So as we get started here, my name is Melva Sine, as Nick mentioned. I'm the president of the Utah Restaurant Association. I've been serving in this capacity for the past 28 and a half years. And so we've seen a lot of changes in that time and a lot of improvements. We need to continue to improve. And so I'm just going to let Kelly and Brandon just tell you a little bit about themselves.
Well, I'll start. I'm Brandon Hansen. I'm currently the Hyatt Place General Manager at the Gateway. I've been in this industry literally my entire life. My family started operating hotels in the late 60s, early 70s in their Pearson Enterprises. So my first job at a hotel was at the age of 12. And I've done or worked in every capacity in the lodging resort industry there is. I turned 54 yesterday, and I volunteer at Snowbird, so I'm still at Snowbird, but I've been in the ski industry and lodging and in this industry literally my whole life. So it's a pleasure to be here and help in any way that I can to address this dire need of more resources and for people to get the help that they need.
I'm Kelly Lake. I'm one of the managing partners at Lux Catering Events, Lux Events, as well as the Lux Hospitality Group. Like Brandon, I've spent my life in hospitality. I think I started in kitchens when I was 15, and I'm not as young as Brandon, so I've been doing it for a hot minute. And we've watched over the years so many changes in our industry, but some things have stayed the same. And I'm very excited that both locally and internationally, this whole spectrum of issues is beginning to catch attention. We've reached a tipping point, and I think it's time that the hospitality industry can become truly healthy.
Thank you. Nice to hear your history as well. So we have this great resource tool that has been provided to us, and we're kind of coming out of the pandemic, which has been really trying for our industries that were closed or because of restricted travel or other types of issues related to the pandemic. We've suffered through those, and our employees, our people who work for us, who we depend on, who we need and whatnot, have suffered greatly because of that. So So we're we've been addressing this issue for years as the Utah Restaurant Association, and I know we all have, in how we deal with our people and how do we retain them. So why do you think that this is such an important issue for us to be addressing?
I believe it's the culmination of so many things. We saw Tony Bourdain's suicide years ago, not that many years ago. We saw the Me Too movement. We have seen an overall unwillingness for people to stay in this wonderful, wonderful industry if they have to stay in a place that's unsafe. I'm old enough that I remember the glory days of the bad boy chefs, where you would work, you'd party, you'd get up, and you'd rinse and repeat. And that's not healthy by any stretch of the imagination. And then here comes the Me Too movement that's shining a spotlight on different types of abuse that exist in the industry. And all of a sudden, everybody's paying attention. People are paying attention locally. People are paying attention on a national stage. And I'm seeing some amazing, amazing things come out of the UK and out of Australia right now. I'm very excited that we are here and that we get to see our beloved industry thrive.
As I look back in my career, whether it's in athletics, hospitality, we've made strides in so many areas as far as opening up. You look at the strides that we made in the Me Too movement. There's still, unfortunately, a stigma with mental health. And it's just devastating because we all hear the stories, the personal stories of a friend or a family member that has done this. And usually it's thought that they would do that. The resources that the chamber has put together with our help and with some just phenomenal funding and being able to do this is just so important to get that stigma so that people can ask for the help and get the help. When we started this roundtable 6 to 8 months ago, I'd recently lost a friend. Well, since then, I've lost 2 friends. I lost my high school quarterback 2 weeks ago. Battled, and couldn't battle anymore. And then we're all left wondering, how could we have helped? Why don't you reach out? It's an illness, and we need to, allow people to feel comfortable to come and seek those sources. And it's, our obligation as industry leaders or as, hoteliers or HR to make sure that we're giving these resources to these people that need the help. Because people can be stoic. You see, whether it's an accidental overdose or purposeful overdose, the substance abuse that's in our industry needs to be addressed, which is part of it. But it's just so important that we shed the light, put the light on, because that's what we need to do. And it's touched me personally since I was a young child. I remember hearing of stories. And hopefully we can make a difference, because that's what I'm here today for, is to try to make a difference, to make one person pick up that phone versus taking those dire, drastic actions.
Yeah, sometimes as employers, we look at our employees and we can offer them benefits, healthcare, vacations, all of those kinds of things, but sometimes we don't address the critical issues of well-being. And well-being isn't just that I come to work every day and I show up for work, but what's going on in my life and how can we help each other? So creating that team philosophy, which we have seen come around in the last few years, that it's not you doing a job, it's us doing a job, and we're building that team where we can take care of each other and look after each other and perhaps even know each other. But I think the important thing here is these resources are available. And there are a lot of people who not necessarily are ashamed, but don't know how to ask for help. I mean, I don't even do a good job of that. But we have to let them know that the resources are there and people can help them. And it's good for us to know how to help them, or at least have a way in which we can guide them. We may not be able to fully help them, but we can let them know we care about them and how we care about them, and provide them with knowledge of these resources. So why do you think now is such an integral time to be discussing this issue?
It's, the last 3 years in our, locally, nationally, globally, has just been traumatic, to say the least. I'm a successful, what I term as a successful man making a very good wage, and I am struggling in our times. So I think of my frontline employees that can't find housing, that can't find food, that can't pay to fill up their gas tank. And then just the unknown of furloughs and COVID and the future. It's almost like we need this more now than we've ever needed it in my lifetime. There's just so many unknowns, and it's almost overwhelming at times if you really open up to it. So you have to kind of, for me personally, I try to focus on, myself, my staff, and try to make sure I'm making an impact on them. But I think right now our world is in such just the unknown with what's going on in Europe, and it's a scary time, and we need to make sure people have those resources that they can get the help they need.
I think we've seen kindness than usual directed toward the frontline workers. We see it play out in fast food places. We see it play out in hotels, in fine dining. We see it play out in national parks, in every single aspect of hospitality. We see guests who just think it's okay to be mean. And that adds a pressure that wasn't necessarily there before. That combined with people being more willing to be open and say, hey, you know what, I'm in trouble. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but it's not okay. And people willing to say, hey, Brandon, are you okay today? I'm kind of worried about you. Those things are all coalescing. And so it's kind of created the perfect storm in both a good way and a bad way. Like Brandon, I have lost a lot of friends over the last couple of years. And the majority of them were not accidental. It's hard. It's very hard. It's hard to watch. It's hard to be in the front line. It's hard to support appropriately. And it's time.
I think for the restaurant industry, when the pandemic began, this is not something new as far as mental wellness and mental well-being, but when the pandemic hit and people, we lost our employees, right? So our base went from 111,000 employees to 63,000 employees. And now we've been building back that base of employees, and so we're at a point where it's such an appropriate time now as we build back our base to really let these people know that we care about every aspect of their well-being. We care about their physical well-being, their financial well-being, their mental well-being, and it helps us to remember that each and every day, because we know how difficult it is right now to hire employees, right? And to maintain or create a workforce and environment that people want to be in. And as Kelly mentioned, this is an amazing industry. We call ourselves the industry of opportunity. Why? Because you can rise faster in our industry than you can in most industries. We can take you in, teach you skills, give you opportunity that you may not find everywhere else as quickly as we can provide that in our industry. So we see this as just a prime time to address these issues and all come together and focus on these things. And what are some of the specific challenges? I know, Brandon, you're in the hotel, you're in kind of our food service family, and so what are some of the challenges you're experiencing as you try to make sure that people are aware of these issues in your workplace?
It all begins with I'm fortunate with the leadership of whatever company you're with. I know Kelly cares. You care. Unfortunately, there's a lot of businesses that don't care, and you're just a number. The challenge that I have is, I've been very fortunate to maintain staff. Once we have staff, the onboarding is so important that you begin to know them. You give them the whole, like you mentioned, these are all of our benefits. But as you mentor them, get to know them, make sure you know them on a personal side. Because we're all taught, especially in my area, you're taught to leave, you come to work, you leave your business at the door, we're on stage. Well, we need to ask some of those questions, because if you have a company that truly cares, you care about your associate. I've always said that if someone no-show, no-calls, it doesn't impact me, the GM, it impacts your associate. You are now making their job more difficult. So if we can truly be empathetic with what our staff are going through and trying to onboard them, because it is very challenging. And for whatever reason, in the last 2 to 3 years, the employee pool is very difficult. We can all speculate, but I get more people no-showing for interviews for once we've given them the job, and so I don't know what the problem is behind that. You can say maybe the government stimulus is, a part of that. They just don't want to work. But there's so many people that do want to work and they want those resources. So my biggest challenge is getting them, a good period of time where they're actually with our establishment so that they can take advantage of those resources, because the turnover is so fast, especially in restaurants, catering, even more so than lodging and hospitality. The wage war, I'm going to pay you $1 more to stay. My biggest challenge is being able to get to know them, have them work long enough to where when I start seeing some of these signs, I truly know they're struggling, and then reinforce that you have support, you have so many resources, and then hopefully they take advantage of those resources.
We're facing basically the exact same struggle, getting team members, family members, because we do become a family, getting them onboarded, getting them welcomed into the gang, and getting their buy-in, having them understand that it's not just, oh, hey, this is where I go to punch a clock, but this is where I go, and people care about me. If I don't show up, they care. If I show up and there's something going on, they care about that too. We focus so hard on how we feel as a company, how our team feels. We refer to us as the Lux fam, or Team Lux, and just getting them loved in appropriately, loved in, and having them understand what it means to be part of us. We have a really unique opportunity with what all of us do. We're one of the very few industries where we can welcome people who have had setbacks and challenges, and they can find a home with us. We are a good landing spot for people returning to society, for people entering the workforce for the first time, regardless of age. We're hospitality, so we're friendly. We like people. And we're such a good place to come that means that we also sometimes attract people that have a few extra needs, whether those needs involve neurodiversity, whether those needs involve a little bit of mental wellness. It doesn't really matter. We get the opportunity to interact with all of these individuals, and we get to learn who they are and get to love them. So we get also then the responsibility of knowing the appropriate resources knowing how to best help them if something is maybe slipping sideways. And we also get the chance to model what asking for help looks like, what good mental hygiene looks like.
Yeah, I think that it's so important as we work with our people and they become part of our family that we genuinely let them know, and that means looking after all of their needs, because we've all seen these challenges face us at different levels, and we've all had the stories of how hard it is when we don't do a good job at helping them to realize how valuable they are, not just as an employee, but as a person, and as we take that responsibility to help care for them in those ways, I think we minimize the strain that it is on our whole staff, because I've heard your story, Brandon, you just telling us how many people you've lost, and so we've seen these continued challenges increase. We've always had them. We've always known they were there. Now we've seen them increase through all of the strains and stresses that we've talked about that are going on in our world right now today. And so as we move in that direction, what are some of the examples that you've seen in your businesses that have resulted in something that maybe could have been prevented, but we didn't have the tools, or we didn't have the time, or we didn't see that need that we're now realizing that we need to see?
I've got, and I'm sharing a story that took place in where I volunteer at Snowbird. We lost the director of our snow safety this last year due to suicide. And working in mountain operations and for a long time of my career as well, male dominated, you're tough, you work hard, you throw bombs, you run routes, we're big, strong, tough men. Well, that's changed. There's way more females are in the ski patrol world, but it's still this stigma of, you work hard, you party hard, and you don't talk about your problems. Well, we have a meeting at the first of the year, and Dave Fields, the president of Snowbird, has made it part of the Snowbird plan to talk about the mental illness, that if you need the time, you've got to give the person time, make sure they're aware of these resources. And I think, where we fail is it just goes back to the, as a male, and I'm speaking for myself, it's, you toughen up, you suck it up, and you move on. Well, we can't do that any longer. The stronger person is the vulnerable person, in my opinion, and we're taught to be strong and not vulnerable. Well, we need to put that spotlight on vulnerability so that you're not drinking yourself to death, or you're going to drink to yourself to the point where you will take action where you wouldn't if you weren't. And I think just what we're doing today, my specific brand, Hyatt, we care for people so they can do the best. And that starts with our associates. And it's a company that truly, you have to invest in your people so that you can make a difference. And there's more and more companies that are doing it, but unfortunately there's a lot that aren't. And those are the people that we need to touch to make sure they're aware of the compassion and that people aren't just a number, so that you can identify some of those issues. Thankfully, I haven't had any issues recently where we've messed up. I've had some where we saved some people by giving them the resources, by being able to find a place for them. Kelly and I were talking offline before. She had a situation with an active person that's ready to kill himself, commit suicide, and she couldn't find a place for him to go. So that's a whole nother issue. That we have the resources that we can provide, but then you can't get in the hospital, can't get into this place, and then what happens? And thankfully, you have someone that cares, whereas if you don't, or you don't ask that question, they go and do it, and it's, unfortunately just another name, and those are the things that we need to change, in my opinion.
One of the things that I've been doing since it was legal here, I carry naloxone. And there's almost never a time I don't have it on me, because I feel so strongly that, you know what, every sunrise is a chance to keep going, and nobody gets better once they're dead. I think the Utah naloxone program is phenomenal, and anybody that doesn't participate, I would encourage so strongly to check it out. It's quick, it's fast. Carol Spatman-Moss got an amazing Good Samaritan law passed with the help of a gentleman who we sadly lost to an overdose within the last couple of weeks. He worked so hard on this issue, and yet there was nobody there to catch him. We have this amazing resource to help save people in the moment so that they can go on to do whatever it is they need to do. A few years ago in our kitchen, we lost a 15-year-old. She had several family members that worked there with her. This one still stings. Looking back at it with her direct supervisors, discussing it with the chef, she sang, she hopped, she danced the kitchen. She was a delight. And then one day, she went home and made a different choice after she clocked out. And that choice was very, very final. And we don't know why. We still don't know why. And I've gone over it. We've all gone over it. None of us can point at what we could have done differently. Definitely after that, I made sure that I had a whole lot more resource cards available with the text lines and the talk lines. But I don't know that I will ever actually get over losing a teenager at work. It's a horrible loss. And she's irreplaceable. All of our people are irreplaceable. And I think it doesn't just start with stopping the immediate act. I think it starts so far before then. Our First Lady, Abby Cox, is working on some initiatives. Show Up Utah. Let's be kind to each other. And I think that's really where it starts. We don't need to wait till people are in active crisis and ready to take dramatic action. We can just say, hey, are you okay today? What's going on today?
And in the workplace, many times we can assign someone just to do that, right? As they come in, as they check in on your shift, most of us have shift supervisors or other people who can simply assign, who can be aware of the resources and whatnot, but can just ask those simple questions. You know, what do you want to accomplish at work today? And, you know, and all of those things that excite them about what they're doing, and kind of then they can put some of those things out of their mind that might not be so great in their world, and really focus on accomplishing and being successful that day at work. And so I think we all have examples of that we have seen throughout our careers that, you know, have been and still are hurtful and painful, as we've seen people make decisions and choices that maybe we weren't aware of that resulted in something that was very final for them and final for us as an industry, because we need all of these people. We need them to be healthy and happy and help them see the opportunities that are available to them, because our industry, in my opinion, is limitless in terms of where you can be. We know many restaurant owners who didn't start out to be restaurant owners, who started out to be lawyers or got their degree in something else. But guess what? They wanted to end up in the people industry. And so where we take care of people. So that's what we do all day, right? Is we serve our customers and our guests and whatnot. We've got to make sure those people who are serving those people, that we're serving them so that they're healthy and well, and they can do that. So let's talk a little bit about this tool that has been created, Resilience in Hospitality. As this was sent to me and I went through it and whatnot, I looked at all of the areas where it's very easy to understand. So most people could read this and take something from it. But at the same time, we can post this information. We can put it in our payroll checks so that it's a very private thing, so that a person just knows that these resources are available, and that if they're having an issue and whatnot, and they don't feel comfortable sometimes coming to us. As you said, Brandon, they don't want to bring their problems to the workplace. They want to deal with those on their own. And sometimes those are just too deep for them to deal with. But if they know that these resources, and we do all that we can to post information, make sure they're aware of these resources. So how in your companies do you think you're going to best utilize these resources to make sure that your employees benefit from this?
It's just the making sure they're aware of it. We do a daily stand-up. We do, we try to conduct, meetings with obviously upper management and then frontline staff, and just reinforcing that those are available. I think it goes back, Kelly had mentioned something, being kind, no matter if you're in the workplace or not, genuinely asking someone how their day is. My wife does this all the time, and it's almost embarrassing to me at times until recently, and I just embraced it, because no matter who it is, how's your day? And they're kind of put back, it's good, bad, indifferent, but just that genuine kindness and caring. That's the same with, our associates when they come to work, genuinely caring, how is your day? When someone's having a bad day, and then unless you're like in your office and you don't interact with people, but that's a poor manager, and hopefully we don't have a lot of those in our workplace. But just reinforcing it, there's a ton of tools. Being able to take this resource back to my business, and then any other networking availability that I can do will make an impact. But it's got to be at the tip of the spear for just another tool in our toolbox that we're making sure our staff is aware of this. But I think it's the human. You've got to be so much. You have to know. I mean, if you don't have that human interaction on a daily basis with your frontline staff and your managers, at least a manager, so that they have that, you lead by example, in my opinion, and then you can really identify those people. But it's just the consistent reinforcement that it's out there, that they have the help. And then, unfortunately, when you do see those times, you've got to act. You can't allow. I had a situation similar to Kelly, but I acted and got the help. But if I would have just been passive, this young man would not be with us, guaranteed. I mean, he's said that and had a plan, and you've got to be able to act on those instincts. And the instinct, the human instinct, what you feel inside, is huge.
Kill.
The 2 years where we were essentially put in timeout, we were all isolated. I watched some amazing peer support groups spring up on different social media channels, and these have been fabulous. One of my favorites is called Chefs with Issues, and it was started by Kat Kinsman, and she wrote a book called High Anxiety: Life with a Bad Case of Nerves, or something along those lines. Anyhow, she's fabulous. So she starts this online support group, and it was so amazing to watch that. You got people all over the world, and you'd see something come in on Facebook that said, I think I'm going to give up on my sobriety today. I don't think I'm going to make it through this week. I don't have any place to go. I don't even have my car to live in anymore. Is anybody out there? And immediately you'd see 6 or 7 responses. And it didn't matter what time of the day or night it was. It was just this online support community of caring, and it was amazing to watch that grow. And that slowed down a little bit now that we're sort of getting back to work, but we've seen a lot more than that grow out of it. So being aware of some of those. One of the most valuable things I think in here is QPR, question, persuade, refer. It's an active suicide intervention plan. If you see somebody that you feel or you're interacting with somebody and every sign indicates that this person's in trouble, this program, it's an easy and fast training. Again, it gives you what you need to be able to say, are you thinking of hurting yourself? Tell me about it. I first became aware of the program through not a hospitality group, but through Mama Dragons. It's LGBTQ focused group. And we lost a whole lot of people in our communities. At one point, we had kind of a rash of bad situations, and so we've got a lot of people who interact in that field that started doing QPR trainings, and they've brought it into their communities and into their schools and into their workplaces. This is so valuable for anybody in your organization, not HR specifically, but any manager, any staff member, anybody, to be able to say, something feels really wrong. You've changed. Do you have a plan? And it's that direct. And if they do, you talk about it and you see if you can find them a landing spot so that they are there to see the next sunrise. And maybe tomorrow, the decisions will feel a little bit different.
Yeah, it's all about the knowledge. It's all about knowing where to find it, how to use it. I mean, one of the greatest things that we see is the Safe UT app, right? Because young people are becoming aware of the Safe UT app. And if we get the young people involved when they're younger, helping each other and encouraging each other and having a resource that if they see a young person in their group, that they can call someone, they can get on the app, and without any identity, without anything, they can be of assistance to that person that might be struggling. And so, and that's so helpful for young people to realize that this is an issue while they're young and that they can be helpful and they can take a step in it and whatnot. Because we employ a lot of young people. You can work at the age of 16 and sometimes even younger if it's family and those types of things. So I think having those types of things where we are all still learning, we as adults who are, past that age of these young people, and help young people to realize that we are all responsible for each other. And so I think that Safe UT app and getting the word out as much as we can and whatnot. So in the workplace, making sure that people are aware that all of these tools are available. And you don't have to be a teenager to use Safe UT. You can be, anyone can use Safe UT, and anyone can apply that online application to assist someone who might be threatened or might have an issue. And so, I mean, I'm looking at this guidance saying our people will really use it. The thing that is in here that makes sense to me is the Blue Star Pledge. And that pledge means that you as an employer are going to train your people, your supervisors, your people, and make sure that they know that there are resources, that they know what mental wellness and mental well-being is, and that they can define that and help their employees, their supervisors, everyone, to take that pledge that they want to. They're going to make the commitment to be aware, to, as you say, be kind. One kind word every day, one kind word from each of us. How do you enjoy walking down the street if someone smiles at you? Just a smile can brighten your day, right? You don't have to necessarily even say anything, but how great is it when someone says, how's your day, or how are you, or, and it just that acknowledgement, I think, is important. And I think that this guide helps remind us and helps us to remind our employees we can actually lay something physical in front of them and say, here's the guide, here's the directive, this is what we want you to do. So I think that this is going to be invaluable in our industry, especially because we have such a huge turnover in our industry. We get them in and we train them, but then they can go on to college. I say we pay for more college educations than anyone because we put these young people through school, but then they can go on and decide their life's direction and whatnot. But how great it is that regardless if they touched our industry, we touched them in a very positive way. So I think that's a very important thing.
Melba, I think that what you mentioned, though, is with the Blue Star, it has to start with the corporation that they train the trainers. So yeah, they're taking that fiducial risk of training them, taking the time out of their day to give them that knowledge. And like you said, there's a ton of turnover, but that person can still take that knowledge, and when they go to the next position, they're going to still be able to help identify maybe a company that doesn't do any training. The HR segment of our audience, we don't need to focus on. They get it. It's getting the supervisor that's just a new supervisor, getting them the resources to train. We all have a lifelong experience that we can identify things. It's the 23-year-old supervisor or front of house manager that doesn't really understand maybe some mental illness issues. And I think what the Blue Star and getting the companies behind this movement is the most important thing, because we give everyone that knowledge. Even if they leave that company, they have the knowledge. Let's make an impact. Let's save one life today is what we're trying to do.
Yeah, so when we look at and we know that we have it, what would you say to other businesses, to other people? Brandon, you've mentioned there are a lot of people who are not as invested as some companies are and some people are. And so what would you say to them, how to use this resource and how to make this available in their businesses and in their, because that's what we're all going to be, right? We're all going to be ambassadors for this program, that this program can be successful and we can see this resiliency happening on a daily basis in our industry. So what do you see that you can, how would you help inform people about this program?
Like I mentioned, fortunately I sit on a couple different, Kelly and I are on a membership committee with Visit Salt Lake, making sure they're aware of it. I'm on the President's Ambassadors. We've got great ambassadors, making sure they're aware of it, taking that back to their businesses. It's just the networking, and it's, the money that's gone into this is phenomenal. Now it's just beginning. We've put in the legwork. We've got the resources. We've got it on digital. Let's continue to share it and share it. It's a passion of mine. Unfortunately, this last year and a half has turned it into a bigger passionate. I don't want to get a phone call from another one of my buddies. I don't want to lose another friend if I can make a difference. And that's it's grassroots, to say the least.
Exactly. Kelly, how about you?
We're kind of here in a community that focuses a whole lot on things looking perfect. And if things don't look perfect, it can feel kind of scary. For the businesses, especially the independent businesses, Brandon's from the corporate world, I'm definitely not. For the independents, for anyone, to be able to say, it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to keep growing. It's just okay to be human. Once that concept is mastered, then all of the other things become more accessible, more available. And we can, as leaders, as business owners, as managers, as representatives of the hospitality industry that's so wonderful, we can show just by kind of how we're going through our life that it's okay to be open with what's going on, and we can share those resources. We don't have to share the nuts and bolts of our struggles. That's not always the correct thing to do, but it's sure okay for people to know that we're not perfect.
Yeah, so that message of don't worry, be happy. I think it's a very popular song at one time, but that's true. We can't just say the words, right? We can't just say, don't worry, be happy. What are your worries? What is it that we could help you with and whatnot? Having that personal relationship and someone within our organizations to help people realize that we really are here to help. They can't be good to our customers if we're not good to them. So the example, as you say, Brandon, starts with us in making sure that they know these resources are available to them and that we care about them and that we want to do everything we can to make sure their well-being is not just financial, not just, as you say, food, transportation, but that they are healthy mentally and that we are concerned about their well-being as they go about the community and about their lives. And so anyway, I think we're probably winding down here, but I wanted to say thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Brandon, and thank you to the Chamber and all of those who have supported this creation of this resource for our industry, specifically for our industry, because I think it's a first of a kind and hopefully will really help us to focus on what's important in our lives in the restaurant and hospitality business.
Thank you.
I want to thank our panelists today for their insightful comments and participation in the discussion. I also want to thank our sponsor of this new resource, Lux Catering and Events. We encourage you to use this new guide in your businesses and share how it helps make a difference for your employees. Together, we can ensure Utah's entire workforce is the most resilient and mentally fit in the nation. Thank you for joining us today.